Riley, and I'm assuming you clicked on this video because you want to hear about my leadership philosophy, which, good news, that's what you're about to hear. My personal philosophy involves inspiring others through communicated passion. Now, I'll explain what that means because that's a really hand-wavy, floaty concept. What that sort of means to me, I don't know, I tend to get really excited about things, and I work better when I'm excited about things, and I've kind of noticed that other people are similar. So if I can take my passion about something and communicate it to a group of people, we can work together as a cohesive team to actually get stuff done, which is pretty exciting. The second part of it, I like to focus heavily on community and on growth and flexibility. So what that sort of means is I want people to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. I want them to feel like they're accomplishing something with what they're doing with their time. And I want them to feel like myself or anyone else that's there is there for them, and we're going to tackle whatever comes at us in the best way at the time. Because that's just kind of how I roll, which is rad. And then obviously working towards a common goal is sort of a big deal, because if you don't establish a common goal, you're not going to get there. This is in all capital letters because I'm really stoked about it. I'm a firm believer in leading by example and in leading through service. So what that sort of means to me is, as a leader, you're not a step back. You're not removed from the people that you're leading. You are leading by being in the front, doing it first, showing people what you need to do, what needs to be done, and being there and inspiring them. Leading through service means telling people that you're there for them first, making it clear that the point of what you're doing is in part to help them grow. Because people feel, again back to community, like they're part of something bigger, like they're spending their time doing something well, and like they're appreciated if you act like that, which is really important. Moving onward, these are my strengths at the bottom, and they're different colors, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I'll be honest, when I first came to Cal Poly as a freshman, I wasn't terribly invested in strengths. I thought, great, a slightly longer BuzzFeed quiz, this is pretty cool. But the more that I've worked with strengths, the more I've realized that there's a lot of really very cool science behind it. And the more time you just invest a little bit of time in strengths, and you'll kind of see how they play out in your life. So the strengths that I put here in red, woo, includer, and positivity, are strengths that I feel I use towards building a community. It's making people feel welcome, making them feel included, and building a generally positive atmosphere and environment for them to exist in, which I think is super important, as I've already touched on. The strengths in purple, communication and strategic, are more about the common goal, flexibility, growth side of things, about the individual steps towards achieving a goal, and then obviously without communication, everything sort of falls apart in a horrible mess, which is, in fact, not what you're trying to do with leadership. All right, shifting over to this half of things. This is explaining how I got to this philosophy, how all of this kind of came together. It's a bunch of things that impacted me and developed sort of who I am as a person and as a leader. The first one is Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout in middle school until the end of high school. And the biggest thing that I walked away with that from was confidence. Biggest thing I walked away with, words, confidence. Because when I went into the program, I was unable to talk to adults. I was unable to talk to anybody. I was a 6th grader, okay? I was like 2 feet tall and I was terrified. Coming out of the program, I'm significantly more comfortable talking in front of groups. I love interacting with people. One of my strengths is woo, which is awesome. So that's reflected in my leadership philosophy because of how kind of front lines, person heavy it is. It also was my first experience with a community that was focused on growth and that was focused on service, which should sound very familiar if you were paying any attention. I was lucky enough to be a part of people that instead of, well, I shouldn't say instead of, there's 2 very valid ways to approach this, which I will talk about later. But the first way to approach a community is kind of you achieve something, you strive for something, and you pull up everyone with you. You encourage everyone towards like a similar goal. And that was what Boy Scouts provided for me. The second example was on cross-country and track and field. And the way that that community worked, it was focused on excellence. So what that meant was pushing everyone towards a common goal. It was, we're all going to get there together somehow, even if it involves running, which is horrible. Now, cross-country and track and field was my first example, or first experience of leadership in a team. And I don't mean that like, wow, it was a team sport and there were leaders, genius. I mean that it's what I refer to sometimes as a leadership spectrum. You have your obvious leaders. You have your people who you think team captains, varsity runners, people like that, all the way down to your upperclassmen, frosh soft teams, people who are brand new. But what is easy to forget is that everyone is a leader. Everyone's a leader to the people who have less experience and are less comfortable with what they're doing than that person is. So never forget that you have the ability to impact someone and to help someone regardless of how brand new you are at something. That's again, sort of a community aspect of leadership. If you can take your expertise and use it to help someone else, then you're one step closer to forming a cohesive community. The next experience that I'd like to talk about is symphony. I've played viola since 4th grade, which is a lot of years. I'm not a math major. And the biggest thing I took away from that was cohesiveness. If you're not cohesive, if you're not together, it's not music, it's just sounds, and sounds that aren't pretty, which is less exciting. It's a leadership system where that's slightly different from the track team, where you have everyone's a leader. Everyone's still a leader, but you also have section leaders that have to work together with the conductor to keep everyone cohesive and together. So it's being sort of a middle manager of sorts. You're receiving information, you're analyzing it, and you're passing it back, trying to keep everyone all going strong. And that's very applicable when you're in a leadership role, but you're not like the ultimate boss, you're not the coordinator, you're somewhere in the middle. And that's something that's super important to bear in mind when leading. Because, something I'm about to talk about, wow, this flows so well, I'm so stoked. I was a WOW leader, and it was awesome. Shout out 538, always late. That was not our official theme, but it's okay. I learned from WOW that it is incredibly important to alter your leadership style to different situations. We'd walk out of an awareness presentation about drug and alcohol abuse. You're going to facilitate that discussion. Maybe you don't want to be the stereotypical WOW leader that you're going to be in 45 minutes when you're kayaking at the beach. Every situation that you're going to encounter is going to require a different approach. It's going to require a very different leadership style from you, and that's something that's important to bear in mind. The last example that I have is the Center for Leadership and Service. I'm a peer leader. I've gotten to work a lot with strengths. I've gotten to work a lot with leadership. I'm seeing fist pumps in the back. That inspires me. And when I first started volunteering here, I would walk into the office and have no idea what was going to happen. That's one kind of flexibility. It's, okay, if you can walk in and be handed a completely unknown situation and make something out of it, I promise you, you can take a pretty expected situation with some things that have changed and adapt to that. Flexibility is huge because nothing will ever go the way that you plan it, and it's important that you know that. I'm a firm believer in that, and it's reflected somewhere behind me, which is pretty rad. It's also a leadership system. I wrote part 2 because I wrote those exact words elsewhere on the board. It's a system where everyone is their own leader. It's a very independent type of space where everyone's working on their own projects. Everyone's working on their own things. And yeah, if you're in the office at the same time as someone else, you'll help them out. It's a community after all. But at the end of the day, everyone's individual projects kind of mesh together to form something awesome, like our strengths event or any other program that we've ever done. And it's important to recognize kind of how your little piece fits into the global whole, similar to in symphony. And that is all I really have to say about that. So, in summary, lead by example, inspire other people with your excitement about things, lead through service, use your strengths to help you be the very best you that you can be, and then take some time to reflect on what's led you to where you are as a leader now, and maybe the things that you're doing right now that will help you develop even more. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.